Hey, it's Caster, and yes, it's been a minute, but I've been trying to figure out the perfect way to give this video all the love and effort I think it deserves, because it involves my favorite thing on earth. So today we're answering the question, why you should check out TTRPGs. Maybe you've never heard of TTRPGs and you aren't really sure what they are. Maybe you know what TTRPGs are, but you've never played or had the chance. Or maybe, like me, you absolutely love TTRPGs and want to hear someone gas them up and try to expand our community even further. Regardless of your answer, this is the video for you. So what are TTRPGs? Well, the acronym stands for Tabletop Role-Playing Game, which sounds like a lot, but it's honestly super simple. It's a game you play with friends for fun, and it involves dice and imagination. Now, when I first heard about Dungeons and Dragons, I thought it was incredibly nerdy, but fortunately, I had an open mind and was willing to give it a try, and I absolutely love it. But TTRPG's influence extends beyond just the game and bleeds into pop culture and serves as a foundation for many video games as well. The RPG or role-playing game aspect of a TTRPG can be broken down as player agents. For the most part, you are able to completely tailor and customize your character as much as the game and dice permit. And you can do anything you want your character to do as long as the dice and your GM permit. The tabletop aspect is as follows. The game is put together and ran by a GM, a game master, who builds the world and its people out and comes up with the flow of the story. You manage your characters and everything in between is determined by dice, is the short answer. And in the year of 2024, which it just so happens to be, there are dozens of different systems and additions that you can use to play your game, from Dungeons and Dragons to Daggerheart to Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, and many more. It might sound like a lot to the uninitiated, but I promise you it's really not that complicated. Now that I've explained in the simplest terms what a TTRPG is, let's break down why you should check out TTRPGs. Art. So, the art of any TTRPG is completely subjective. If you play online, you can use all sorts of tokens and art to represent a character, an area, an item, really anything you want. There are tons of viable character creators and maps at your disposal. Shout out Shepeku and Pikrumi. But the world really is your oyster. The only thing limiting you is what you can or can't gain access to. Or additionally, you can decide not to use any art at all and just fully delve into the theater of the mind, going only off of description and imagination. Me personally, I prefer to have imagery so everyone can be on a similar page, but the only thing limiting you ultimately is yourself. If you're playing in person, you can use miniatures that you can either purchase, make, or even 3D print, as well as maps, building models. You can print out art, use dry erase maps. There's even special tables with displays built into them if you're willing to spend the money. But the art in any given game is truly only limited by your imagination and willingness, and in some cases your wallet. Not to mention the art in the books is usable as well, and it's always on point and looks fantastic because of the amazing artists that are available to the community and publishers. For art for TTRPGs, I'm going to have to give it a very strong 10 out of 10. Because of the flexibility and, story and world building. Both the story and world building of your game are only limited by your imagination, your creativity, and the actions that you decide to take. There are modules that you can play by the book that give you a comprehensive walkthrough of how your game should be played through your story, what direction to go, what to do in the event of unforeseen outcomes, so on and so forth. But nothing is law. You can decide what to keep, what to drop, what to mix and match, and create the game that everyone involved not only loves, but is also actively interested in interacting with. Alternatively, you can play completely homebrew, deciding what you do or don't want in any given game or story. There really is no right or wrong way to go, as long as everyone at the table is good with it. The world and story are limitless, though sometimes mixing and mashing too much can be, well, not so ideal. It's all about creating the best story and world for everyone involved. At the time of recording this, me and my friends just recently completed our 2-year-long homebrew campaign, and it was an absolute joy. The story took tons of twists and turns, ups and downs, struggles and sacrifices, and in the last few sessions there were so many moments that we were all in tears, either from sadness or joy. But the entire 2 years, we all worked together to craft a compelling story and leave our mark on the world. Despite feeling sad that the story is done, we can't wait to dive into the next story. In the community, we say TTRPGs are collaborative storytelling. So, as long as you're telling a good story with your friends, you're gonna have a good time. For story and world building for TTRPGs, I'm gonna go ahead and drop another strong 10 out of 10. Characters. Alright, so to me this is my favorite aspect of a TTRPG, and that is characters. Building a character, deciding who you want them to be, how they look, sound, walk, talk, dress, what kind of person they are, deciding what they're good at, what they're bad at, if they're good or evil, why they are the way they are. Everything from top to bottom. You have to deliberately try to make a bad character, and I mean bad. Go check out Crit Crab if you want an example of a truly bad character. But if your character is weak or isn't good at anything, if they contribute to the story, then they're great. It's always incredibly interesting seeing what kinds of characters other people make and how they play them, how they grow together or apart, what kinds of decisions they'll make, actions they'll take, or secrets they'll keep, because there is no main character. A good GM makes everyone feel like the main character, and I love that. As with everything else so far, characters are only limited by the person creating and playing them. There are fantastic and engaging NPCs that can sometimes be an anchor to the story, or just a cool random dude that becomes a beacon of hope to the group, or even a silly shopkeeper who becomes an inside joke for years to come. A character can be a trope, or incredibly complex and nuanced, and in my experience, most often are. Even if a character starts off as a gag, with time and effort, they can grow into someone or something absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. Characters in TTRPGs are as varied as people are in real life, maybe even more so because of all the races and fantasy and all the cool things you can do. And for that, I'm going to have to give characters a very hard, you probably guessed it, 10 out of 10. Power system. TTRPG power systems are interesting because tons of systems overlap with what you can and cannot do, and tons of systems are wildly different. A game is only limited in this aspect by the system itself. Depending on the kind of game you want to play, the kind of story you want to tell is how you should choose what to use, and in turn, what the power system is. And just like everything else, systems can be modified. We've played D&D in a futuristic sci-fi setting, and I made a character who perfectly fit, just by changing the flavor or description of how my abilities worked, without changing any of the mechanics of how they functioned. It's really just a matter of finding what works for your group and what story you're trying to tell. My core group has played bits of Call of Cthulhu because we love horror, but we have tons and tons of experience playing D&D. But now that our most recent campaign is done, we're beginning to learn Pathfinder because we feel that system is better for us and the story we're trying to tell. We're also going to branch out into Starfinder. It may seem like I've gotten away from the point, but I'm basically saying you're only limited by what system you decide to use and what rules you decide to put into effect at your table. Ultimately, I think of systems like genres and just what kind of genre I want to use. All of that being said, for power systems and TTRPGs, well, you might have guessed it, another 10 out of 10. In conclusion, I gave TTRPGs an overall very solid 10 out of 10. I'm definitely biased, but I truly think there's nothing like hanging out with your friends, playing a game together, and through that, cook up something absolutely amazing that you never would have been able to experience in a movie or a video game or show or even a book. I genuinely believe that everyone can enjoy a good TTRPG given the right group. If you haven't tried a TTRPG, I highly recommend giving one a try. Just try to find a game that interests you and play with some willing friends. And if you have tried and it wasn't for you, I'm sorry. And I really hope that if you're willing to try again, you find a game that works perfectly for you. But as always, let me know in the comments if I've swayed you to check out TTRPGs. Or if you're in the community, let me know if I've done us justice. And I hope to see you at the table sometime. Normally I would preview the video that I'm going to do next, but right now I'm not sure. So maybe in the comments leave a suggestion. I have some backlog stuff, but it'll take some time to work through it. But I promise you I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching, and remember, do what you love. Peace.